A man adrift in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean for 76 days, completely alone. No water, no food, no help. He lost a third of his body weight, dropping from 176 pounds to 110 pounds. How did he survive? But there's more to it. Over 76 days, he saw 9 ships. He fired flares at everyone, waved his flashlight, signaled desperately. Not one of them saw him. While fishing, he accidentally speared his own life raft with his harpoon. The raft started sinking. So what did he do? This man's ordeal is the true story behind Life of Pi, and what he endured in the middle of the ocean is one of the most incredible survival stories in human history. In January 1982, Steven Callahan was about to fulfill his dream. This experienced 29-year-old sailor had spent years designing and building his 21-foot sailboat, Napoleon Solo, with his own hands. He had studied psychology, learned naval architecture, competed in races. Crossing the Atlantic Ocean solo had been his childhood dream. The previous year, he'd already crossed the Atlantic once in the same boat and was now ready for a more challenging route. On January 29, 1982, he set sail from the Canary Islands. His destination was Antigua in the Caribbean. The first week was perfect. He sailed through calm seas under beautiful weather. The wind filled his sails. Everything was going according to plan. But on day 7, the situation changed. On the night of February 5th, a storm began in the darkness. Steven was exhausted and retreated to his cabin for a quick sleep, trusting his boat. He woke at midnight to a terrifying crash. Something massive had struck the boat. Most likely a whale or a giant shark had collided with Napoleon Solo in the darkness. When he jumped from his bed, he found himself standing in water up to his waist. A huge hole had been torn in the hull, and the ocean was flooding in under tremendous pressure. Napoleon Solo was sinking. The boat he'd built to fulfill his childhood dream was turning into wreckage within minutes. Steven tried to shake off the shock and remain calm. He found the life raft, threw it into the water, and thanks to its automatic inflation feature, the raft became usable. But what should he take with him? The boat was sinking too fast. The supplies were in the flooding cabin. He had no time to think. He took a deep breath and dove into the dark, freezing water. His lungs were burning, but he had to survive. Groping blindly, he found the emergency bag, then his harpoon, grabbed a few bottles of fresh water. His breath was running out fast. With his last bit of energy, he threw himself out. He saw Napoleon Solo one last time as a silhouette in the darkness, then the boat disappeared into the depths. Now he was alone in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean with just a small life raft. When morning light broke, he looked around. Endless blue stretching in every direction. No land, no ships, no sign of hope. In the first days, he managed with the small ration pack and a few bottles of water he'd grabbed from the boat. But supplies were minimal and would run out fast. He had 3 solar stills with him. These devices used solar heat to evaporate seawater and remove the salt, producing drinking water. However, Steven didn't know how to use them. He tried repeatedly and failed. Finally, he took one apart to understand how it worked. Even on sunny days, the stills produced at most half a bottle of water. While the human body needs at least half a liter daily, he could find much less. The food situation was even worse. After the rations ran out, the ocean became his only food source. He tried fishing with his harpoon, but failed. Fishing from a small boat in rough ocean was far from easy. He threw the harpoon, pulled it back, and missed. Fish wouldn't come near the raft. 13 days of failed hunting attempts were frustrating and devastating. Nothing was going into his stomach. Finally, on the end of day 13, he caught his first fish. For the first time in days, raw fish entered his stomach. He began mastering the harpoon, and the food problem seemed relatively solved. But constantly consuming raw fish wasn't adequate nutrition. As days and weeks passed, his body weakened and he rapidly lost weight. Constantly exposed to sun and salt water, his skin became irritated and wounds formed on his body. When these wounds touched salt water, the pain was unbearable. Salt was literally being rubbed into his wounds with every contact. His body was slowly wasting away. His muscles were dissolving. His skin was burning. Every movement caused pain. But the real devastation was in his mind. Loneliness and hopelessness consumed him. He saw ships on the horizon. At first, hope returned. He fired flares, waved his flashlight, screamed desperately. The ship passed by, then another one, then another. He saw 9 ships total. He fired flares at each one, waved his light. None of them noticed him. Each time his hope rose, each time he sank into deeper depression. Maybe it would have been better if he hadn't seen anything at all. Moreover, he wasn't just being tested by hunger and thirst. A lone raft in tropical waters, with fish swimming around it, also attracted the attention of sharks. Some days he began seeing dark-finned shadows circling the raft. He even woke one night to a violent impact from what he thought was a shark. Fortunately, the creature that could have torn apart the plastic raft with a single bite had settled for just a warning strike. Before we continue with the video, make sure to subscribe for more incredible stories like this, turn on notifications, and give this video a like. After weeks of this struggle, one day while fishing, the worst thing happened to him. He couldn't control a thrashing fish and accidentally pierced his own life raft with the sharp tip of his harpoon. In the middle of the ocean, after weeks of fighting to survive, he was now sinking his lifeline. In a panic, he tried pumping air in, but the hole was too large and air kept escaping. No matter how much air he pumped, it leaked out through the large tear. He tried applying the patches from his emergency kit, but the size of the hole made them useless too. The raft had multiple compartments, so it didn't sink completely with just one section torn, but the damaged side sagged down, creating imbalance and increasing the risk of water coming in during big waves. He struggled for hours, but couldn't find a solution. Already physically exhausted, his mind wouldn't let him think logically either. But over the passing hours, a light bulb went off in his brain. He decided to make the hole that wouldn't hold a patch even bigger. Then he stuffed the cork plug from the kit into that hole and tied it tightly around. It wasn't perfect, but it worked. The raft was now deflating over hours instead of minutes. He could survive with regular pumping, but a few days later, a new disaster struck. The tip of the harpoon, neglected for weeks, broke off and went into the depths with a fish. He tried to repair it, but this time broke the trigger system. He couldn't shoot the harpoon anymore. Survival instinct forced him to be creative. He removed the knife handle from the emergency kit and tied it to the tip of the harpoon. He had a harpoon without a barb, unable to shoot, but still usable. However, without the barb, fish escaped. For a week he tried hunting while utterly exhausted, but failed. On day 73, the last solar still broke down. It could no longer perform its function. He didn't know how long he could last on the remaining half-liter of clean water. He'd been alone in the ocean for 2.5 months. His entire body was covered in wounds. He had resigned himself to death and finally stopped trying. When day 76 arrived, Steven was on the verge of losing consciousness. Not a single bite of food had entered his stomach in days, and 2 days earlier, his water had run out. That night, he began seeing lights. He couldn't tell if they were real or hallucinations. Though he didn't know it at the time, the lights he saw were coming from houses on Marie Galante Island. When morning came, local fishermen heading out from the island spotted a reddish raft. As they got closer, they realized there was a man inside, a thin, exhausted, half-dead man. April 21st, 1982, the morning of day 76. 3 local fishermen loaded Steven and his patched raft onto their boat. They didn't speak his language, but they could guess from the man's condition what he'd been through. For the first time in weeks and months, he was touching another human being. As soon as he reached shore, he was rushed to the hospital. He'd lost a third of his body weight, dropping from 176 pounds to 110 pounds. He had severe, non-healing wounds and serious sunburns. He could barely take a proper step and was constantly having nightmares. He received treatment in the hospital for 6 weeks. His body would take 6 months to a year to recover. His family, friends, girlfriend, everyone thought he was dead, but somehow he'd survived. In the following years, he told of these experiences in his book, Adrift: 76 Days Lost at Sea, which became a New York Times bestseller. One of the most important points in his career was serving as a consultant on the film Life of Pi. Steven's story formed the basis of the film. This incredible struggle that happened in real life was brought to the big screen. Afterward, he got married, created inventions related to marine equipment, obtained patents, gave lectures. In the 2000s, he was diagnosed with leukemia, but overcame that as well. He became an ambassador for leukemia campaigns and tells people firsthand what survival means. Steven Callahan survived 76 days in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, alone, with a patched life raft. He punctured his own raft, but fixed it with a creative solution. 9 ships passed by without seeing him, yet he never lost hope. He lost a third of his body, but refused to give up. One of the most extraordinary examples of human resilience, creativity, and survival instinct. Could you have handled these challenges if it were you? 76 days in the ocean, 9 ships not seeing you, puncturing your own raft, a third of your body wasting away. Which do you think would be the worst? Share in the comments. For more incredible survival stories, subscribe, turn on notifications, and give this video a like.